migration, legal and illegal right now this morning, because yet again the situation gets worse. Let's talk to Alp Mehmet. He's chairman of Migration Watch UK and joins us. Good morning to you, Alp.
Good morning, Julia.
Thank you very much indeed for joining us. I mean, let's say, just very quickly, first of all, I want to cover the possibility of Keir Starmer, cozying up, we know, this EU summit today with 27 EU leaders, desperately wants to get back in with the EU and wants to sort of say, no, of course we wouldn't have free movement and things like that, but having this deal where, youth, young people under 30s would be able to travel and work. He desperately wants that as a sort of a backdoor way of bringing back free movement, doesn't he? How worried are you about that?
It depends what we sign up to. My feeling is that the EU are going to push their luck so far that even Sir Keir Starmer is going to say, I'm sorry, but we can't do that. Let's wait and see. Unquestionably, the Labour Party, as is on record, would like to have a much closer relationship than we've now got with the EU. And I think this is all about that. What happens with regard to immigration, well, it can't get any worse, frankly.
Well, you say that. We said that for years, and then it kept getting worse. The Boris wave.
True.
Thanks, Boris Johnson. I mean, let's also talk about the illegal migrants.
Incidentally, on Boris Johnson, I warned repeatedly of what was going to happen.
Oh, no, Migration Watch UK has warned from the moment we had the accession of the Eastern European countries. You've been right every time. You've been absolutely, outrageously slurred repeatedly in the media and by politicians, but you've always been right, and I really think people need to pay more attention. It's almost like you're the only people who can add up sometimes. Let's talk about the Home Office then, looking to repeal rules introduced by the Tories rather later than they should have done, that meant that any small boat arrivals, i.e. illegal migrants, could pretty much almost never have a chance of ever becoming UK citizens. We understand that Labour, under their new Border Security, Asylum and Immigration Bill, I never understand why we need to have all these long words in there, but they are now looking at, they say, tackling the small boats crisis, quote, smashing the gangs. But the small print reveals the government is going to repeal lots of previous measures in the Illegal Migration Act under the Tories, only voted through in 2023, so just 2 years ago. But that included a provision that meant pretty much you're ineligible for settled status if you arrive illegally, and you're ineligible for citizenship. So that means you could actually be able to claim citizenship if you've arrived here illegally. I mean, this is madness, isn't it?
It's always been madness. Sir Keir Starmer and Yvette Cooper are a bit like Icarus flying towards the sun on immigration. What they're doing is actually encouraging illegally people to make their way here. That's what it is. The new legislation is going to make it much more difficult to make the case for removing people. It's already very difficult, but it's going to make it even more difficult. With regard to young people, it's going to, again, become so much more difficult to take biometric evidence and biometric information from them. They're now going to insist, the new legislation is going to insist that there is either a parent there for anyone who claims to be under 16 or someone responsible for them, either the local authority, social worker. That's ridiculous. Now, here we are in the absurd situation of having to disprove a made-up story from a migrant coming from a safe car.
So you have 25-year-olds claiming to be under 18. We've even had, people in their late 20s, even early 30s, put into schools, for goodness sake, who were, because we weren't doing proper checks, we just believe it. I mean, I've seen pictures of people, nice big, beard, clear, like beefy guys, like, sure you're 16. I mean, it's absurd. Other countries, the nice countries in the EU, numerous of them, they do clear, genetic, proper testing, where they can actually, they take X-rays, they do testing. They know that they test them immediately. There's no issue whatsoever under any human rights legislation. They're also subject to for finding out whether someone is the age they say they are when they haven't got a single bit of ID to prove anything. It is utterly bizarre. What do you think, though, is behind it? Because we can talk about the rinky-dink measure here and rinky-dink measure there. What do you think the game plan is, such as Labour having a game plan?
It's pretend politics, that they know that it's with the system as it is at the moment, it's almost impossible to detain, deal with quickly, and remove anyone arriving illegally. Anyone who's arrived legally and becomes illegal, it's even more difficult.
Yeah.
The legislation is just make-believe at the moment. It's not going to smash the gangs. They're going to continue coming illegally. And those who make their way legally for short stay and stay on, that is going to be given rocket.
Yeah. I mean, it absolutely blows my mind. They reckon it's like 1.5 million people. Who are we kidding? It's probably double that, realistically, number of people who are here who haven't got a right to be here. But no one knows. They haven't got a clue. They didn't know how many people from the EU lived here, even when we left at Brexit. It was 2 million more people than they thought, and they were here legally. I just find it extraordinary that we don't count people in and count people out. I mean, they're taking our details. We're queuing up for hours sometimes at passport control when there's a problem there. How on earth are they not using this information? It is absolutely mind-blowing to me. We'll have to leave it there. Alp Mehmet, I'm chairman of Migration Watch UK. Thank you very much for that. Sam Armstrong, I mean, do you think there is this sort of plan by the back door? I mean, lots of talk in America during the American election that, the Democrats wanted to import, millions of people from Mexico. And then, they're here anyway, they're working. Let's give them settled status. Or allow them to vote whether or not they're American citizens or not. And again, that's something Labour wants to do as well, completely changing the demographics and the electoral map of the nation, both the US and the UK. Is it a big conspiracy theory, or are they just utterly inept?
1 in 12, 1 in 13 people in London right now is an illegal immigrant.
Yeah. Oh, at least.
Why does Labour want to give them the vote? Why do they want to change the law to make them citizens and give them the vote? Can you possibly think of any explanation of why this government wants to make sure that if you have broken into this country, if you have stuck 2 fingers up to us and our laws, that upon arrival you can claim British citizenship, stay here forever and vote in each and every election? Anybody got any idea why? Send it in on a postcard.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing, isn't it? But are they... Here's the thing. Are they clever enough to think this sort of stuff through, or do they just... I just think they genuinely do believe, there's no such thing as a nation state and we shouldn't have borders and I think they genuinely do believe that because they've not thought literally anything through.
I think so many of them come from that record of, and I'm afraid to say it, postal vote fraud up in towns in this country.
And it's in Labour. It's in Labour seats almost entirely.